Have you ever found yourself in that classic dilemma, when what the rules tell you to do clashes head on with what your gut or just plain human necessity is screaming? That moment where a strict guideline feels completely out of step with, well, the messy reality of life? Well, today we're plunging right into that very tension. We're starting a fascinating deep dive into what it truly means to rest, to find a profound sense of divine help, and to understand reconciliation in a way that might just surprise you. Our sources today aren't just giving us information. They're really challenging some of our conventional notions about our time, our relationships, and maybe even our faith itself.
Indeed. And our material for this dive comes from two incredibly insightful pieces. We'll be exploring Sabbath, Lord, faith, reconciliation, and divine aid, which pulls in some really powerful passages from Colossians, Psalm 54, John, and Luke. And we'll also be drawing from a reflective piece called Sabbath, rest, mercy, and divine lordship. Together, they offer this rich, sort of interconnected tapestry of wisdom that pushes us beyond just the surface level.
Right. So our mission today is to navigate these ancient words, not just to understand them historically, but to actually pull out those surprising nuggets of insight. We want to discover how these ideas might offer a fresh, maybe less rigid perspective on how we live our lives, how we manage our time, and cultivate a deeper connection to something larger than ourselves.
Okay, let's unpack this. Maybe we should start with a scene you probably already know.
Okay.
Most of us are familiar with that scene in Luke chapter 6. Jesus and his disciples, they're just strolling through a grain field on the Sabbath. Pretty simple. They're hungry, so they do something that feels incredibly natural. They just start picking heads of grain, rubbing them in their hands, and eating. Seems like such a basic thing, right? Satisfying and eat.
But what's really fascinating, and where the conflict just ignites, is the Pharisees' immediate reaction. They don't see hungry people. They see a blatant violation of a sacred day. Their challenge: why are you doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath? I mean, that wasn't a minor point for them.
No, not at all. This was seen as harvesting, essentially, which was strictly forbidden. It challenged deeply held traditions about keeping the Sabbath holy. It was a cornerstone of their religious practice, to find their identity in many ways.
Right. But then Jesus, he doesn't just brush them off. He actually turns their argument right back on them with a historical example that must have been, well, pretty shocking to hear. He asks, "Have you not read what David did when he and those who were with him were hungry?" He's basically saying, you know your own sacred history, don't you? Let's talk about King David, the revered one.
Mm-hmm. And David's act, as our source recounts it, is incredibly compelling. Jesus reminds them how David, in this moment of really desperate hunger, went into the house of God and took the bread of offering.
Yeah.
And this wasn't just any bread. This was sacred, consecrated bread, specifically set aside only for the priests to lawfully eat.
Right. Only the priests?
Yet David ate it, and he shared it with his companions. The implication here is just profound. A principle of human need, of welfare, particularly in urgent situations, could and did override even the strictest legalistic readings of religious law. It strongly suggests a higher purpose behind the law itself, a purpose rooted in, well, compassion.
Okay, here's where it gets really profound, almost revolutionary. After giving this powerful historical example, Jesus delivers a statement. And it doesn't just justify what his disciples did, it completely reframes the whole discussion. He declares, the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. So what does this pivotal claim of authority truly signify here? Why is it such a game changer?
Oh, that statement is nothing short of seismic, really. It fundamentally shifts our understanding of the Sabbath. It moves it from being just a day governed by an external list of don'ts to something dynamic, something centered on Jesus' own authority and his character. Our second source, Sabbath, rest, mercy, and divine lordship. It dives right into this, confirming Jesus' role. The real insight isn't just about the rules of the Sabbath, but that Jesus flips the very purpose behind those rules. He moves it from, say, a set of restrictive boundaries to an active invitation for genuine engagement with God.
Okay, so if Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath, then true rest isn't just about physically stopping work, is it? Our sources seem to clarify it's something much deeper than just inaction. It's described as dwelling in his presence. How can we really grasp what that means, dwelling in his presence in our busy lives? Is there maybe an analogy that makes it more tangible?
Absolutely. Think of it less like just hitting the off switch on activity and more like actively rebooting your entire system. Your mind, your body, your spirit.
Yeah.
It's an intentional choice. It's like tuning into a deeper connection, maybe like unplugging from the constant noise and demands of the world for a bit, to fully recharge and reconnect with your core purpose. It's active. It's intentional. A kind of spiritual, emotional, mental reset, not just passive. It moves beyond a simple checklist. It becomes more about an internal state, an internal disposition.
That makes sense. An internal disposition.
Which then leads us to a really crucial question, I think, for all of us. What do we truly prioritize? There's a prayer in our source material, and it asks us to value mercy over sacrifice and love over legalism. That's a pretty significant reorientation, isn't it?
It really is. It challenges the foundation of how we might traditionally think about our obligations, or maybe how we think we earn favor.
Exactly. For example, valuing mercy over sacrifice. What might that look like? Maybe in a busy work week, it means choosing to extend some grace to a colleague who's struggling, or maybe a difficult family member, offering practical help perhaps, or even just an understanding ear rather than rigidly sticking to a task list that frankly could wait or be delegated, or waiting for them to somehow earn your help. It's about seeing the compassionate, the relational heart of a situation over just sticking strictly to external forms or rules.
And the payoff. For embracing this, kind of radical shift, our sources suggest that by living this way, prioritizing mercy and love, actively dwelling in his presence, you actually find balance, peace, and renewal in your daily lives. It's not just theology. It's presented as a practical guide for well-being.
Right.
It helps us understand that verse, Psalm 92.1, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, not just as a command to stop doing things, but as an invitation to a life centered on rest, mercy, and trust, all under this idea of divine authority. But this revolutionary idea about the Sabbath, it doesn't stand alone, does it? Our deep dive shows it's deeply linked to a broader, really foundational truth, this incredible offer of divine aid and reconciliation. And that seems to fundamentally redefine our relationship with something larger than ourselves. How do our sources weave these threads together?
That's precisely it. They're tightly woven. The Colossians passage, chapter 1, verses 21 to 23, it vividly describes a past state for people. You once were alienated and hostile in mind because of evil deeds. I mean, that paints a pretty stark picture of separation, of opposition, a fundamental brokenness.
Yeah, it does.
But then right after that, it declares this monumental transformation. God has now reconciled you in the fleshly body of Christ through his death. What's truly astonishing here isn't just that reconciliation is possible, but that it's an act of God through Christ, moving you from complete estrangement to a fully restored relationship.
And the reason for this reconciliation, it's incredibly powerful. To present you holy, without blemish, and irreproachable before him. Wow, that's a status no amount of human effort could possibly achieve, right? A profound act of purification, of presentation. But there's a vital condition attached, isn't there? A call to keep engaging, provided that you persevere in the faith, firmly grounded, stable, and not shifting from the hope of the foundational good news, the gospel that you heard. What does it really mean to persevere in this context? It doesn't sound passive.
No, not at all. To persevere here isn't about earning your way back because the reconciliation is already accomplished. It's more about steadfastly trusting in that reality, living out that restored relationship day by day. And this concept of divine aid, the constant support and help needed for that perseverance, it's echoed so beautifully in Psalm 54, verses 3, 4, 6, and 8. It has that powerful recurring refrain, God himself is my help. This isn't just a general theological statement, it's deeply personal. The psalm itself is this heartfelt prayer for salvation, a call for defense against enemies, and then this incredible affirmation, the Lord sustains my life. It speaks to a profound trust that even in moments of need, in the middle of those challenges of persevering, divine assistance is actively involved, providing strength, providing protection.
Okay. And connecting all these profound threads, how reconciliation works, how we access divine help, and even how we truly understand rest. We have Jesus' statement from John 14.6. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. How does this statement position Jesus as absolutely central to finding both that reconciliation and that divine aid we were just discussing?
Well, you could say this statement is the linchpin. It really integrates everything we've been talking about. It positions Jesus not merely as a guide or an example, but as the very path itself to connection, to truth, to life. He is the means by which that reconciliation described in Colossians becomes a reality for us. He is the source through which that divine aid we see in Psalm 54 flows. So if we truly want to experience this profound rest, this radical mercy, this restoration, and the sustained help to persevere, John 14:6 tells us it's found in him and through him. It's a completely unified vision of spiritual access and sustenance.
So bringing this all back to our larger framework then, Jesus being Lord of the Sabbath and also the way and the truth and the life, this isn't just abstract theology floating out there. What kind of practical invitation does this fuller understanding of his lordship offer us for our actual daily lives?
It's really an invitation to integrate these deep principles into every part of our lives. It suggests that our understanding of time, yes, but also our relationships, our source of strength, they're all profoundly shaped by acknowledging this lordship. It's a challenge, really, a challenge to evaluate where we place our fundamental trust and how we choose to live from that place of already accomplished reconciliation and available divine aid. And this encourages us, I think, to question assumptions we might hold about what counts as duty or holiness. Is it just rigid adherence to rules and external expectations? Or is it an active, living faith centered on mercy, love, and that idea of dwelling in his presence for true balance and renewal?
It really does challenge us, doesn't it, to consider where we genuinely place our trust deep down. Are we chasing after external validations, maybe ticking boxes, or are we actively pursuing that deeper sense of mercy, love, and intentionally dwelling in his presence for real balance and renewal, just like our sources describe? It's a fundamental call on about how we build our daily lives and find lasting peace within them.
Exactly. And this understanding, valuing mercy over sacrifice, that key phrase from the prayer in our source, it can genuinely transform our interactions, our understanding of our own time, even our most pressing priorities. For instance, think about it. In a world that constantly pushes productivity above all else, choosing mercy over sacrifice might mean taking that much-needed mental health break without guilt.
Without guilt. That's key.
Right. Knowing that genuine rest, that dwelling, can actually be an act of worship and trust, not just shirking some perceived duty. It invites a real reevaluation of what truly matters and what truly brings life, not just temporary satisfaction or external approval.
So we've journeyed through these ancient texts today, and we've uncovered that the Sabbath seems to be far more than just a list of rules or prohibitions. It feels like a profound invitation to active rest, radical mercy, and deep renewal, all under this concept of divine lordship. We've seen how reconciliation through Christ offers this astonishing path from alienation, from hostility, to being presented wholly without blemish. And that's all supported by the unwavering help of God, available through Jesus, who is himself the way and the truth and the life.
And this naturally leads to an important question drawn from our second source, for you to maybe ponder as you go about your day and your week, applying these insights. How can I use my time today or this week to rest in the Lord and show mercy to others?
So thinking about that, if Jesus truly is Lord of the Sabbath and also the way and the truth and the life, what might that actually mean for your personal definition of rest and work this coming week? And maybe even more pointedly, how might consciously prioritizing mercy over sacrifice and love over legalism reshape your daily interactions, perhaps your most challenging decisions, and your overall sense of, well, peace? This deep dive definitely offers plenty to consider as you navigate your own understanding of time, purpose, and that divine connection. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration today.